What is up, YouTube? It is your boy Q, and am I wrong, Q? So, am I wrong though? Like, I really have a question today because I've been seeing some things lately between X, or should I say Threads, Instagram Threads, and just conversations on YouTube and conversations in the community, which I feel like this is a long-standing thing that people do. And I just want to say, I want to pose the question and then I'll give my own thoughts on it. So, why is being called gay an insult? Not to say that I am, but just like I always wondered about that. And actually, it kind of goes into this other thing I've been thinking about is as people, especially in the Black community, I definitely noticed that there is a Dang, I feel like I can go into a lot of topics on this. This is gonna have to be like a multi-part video. I'm trying to see where I even want to start, man. Cause here, I'll start with this. From what I've seen, being gay in the Black community is definitely kind of a no-no, and which I never understood because I half understand it and then half don't, because we're also the same people that want to feel welcome no matter how we look. We have a different aesthetic of style. We're very different from a lot of other races, and we come with our own aesthetic, how we do things, how we talk, how we interact with people. And I never understood what is the displeasure of being gay, and that I've heard from other people. And it's always been an interesting question to me because it's definitely used as an insult. And I can understand the merit behind why, because of masculinity and how the stereotypes and the idea behind being gay in general comes off. And then at the same time, they almost lost track of the plot because I'm gonna keep going down these different holes and stuff. But I don't understand how people who seek to be accepted know what it's like to be persecuted based off of something that you just are and that you can't really help, then choose to persecute and treat differently somebody who just is. And that's just how they kind of came out. I personally don't understand it. Like, it's a half and half. Like, I get the stigmas, I get that you don't want to be called that, I get the social kind of ostracizing that you get in our community, but you're just like, okay, well, you know what it's like to have people look at you funny, to feel like you don't belong, to have people judge you based on characteristics that you can't change, but then you're willing to go do something. And honestly, I feel like it kind of feeds into one, Black people tend to be very religious people, and the Bible tends to shun, the LGBTQ. I don't know if you can actually say gay on here. I think you can. I'm not too sure, but I'll find out eventually. So YouTube will let me know. And secondly, masculinity, because it's always been used as an insult, which is funny too, because on a separate topic, which I may get into later, I always want to ask the question, why do women, well, I'm talking about Black women right now because that's the community I'm in, use gay as an insult, but then they have gay friends? I never understood that. That's been a very big question I've always had. Because I feel like something's crawling on my leg. How can you say you're a friend of a community, or you support a community, or you're around its people, and that you get along with them, but then you use who they are as an insult to another? You know what I mean? Because in my idea here, I'm about to start rambling, yapping. And of course, this ties into just being gay in general. But for my idea, like, it would feel weird if I was friends with a white person, right? But every time he disliked somebody, he called them Black. So would you not think that he has some distaste for Black people to use it as an insult? Like, how would you feel if your friend was like, who's not Black or not the race that you are, use your race as an insult to somebody else, and pretty much saying like, these stereotypes are true, that's what I'm saying about you? I wouldn't use it as an insult if there was only good things about that. You know what I mean? Like, you want to call somebody ugly, you wouldn't call them good looking. You know what I mean? That's not kind of how it works. You call them ugly. You want to use what's the definition and the negative stereotype behind being called ugly. So for me, I never understood that about our women, how they can say that they're supporters, but then at the first drop of a hat, you are quick to use the F word. You're quick to call somebody gay. You're quick to call somebody sassy. And it's just like, where does that come from? But I think that's going to be a separate video I'm going to get into. But for now, I want to get into the question of, like, I guess my opinions on it. I feel like, as I said before, as a people who know what oppression is, as a people who know what being profiled, being harassed, being excluded because of a characteristic that you can't change, I personally think that it's something that does need to be changed in our community, because it's not like it's gonna go away. It's not like things, that's something that you can beat or burn or yell out of somebody. It's just going to be here, and it's not going anywhere. Everything's being a little bit more progressive, and with the climate today, it's kind of like in between progressive and conservative, where it depends on where you're at. But I hate that it's being used as an insult, and it's always the favorite go-to insult, because I feel like women know, and people know that it's the quickest way to hurt somebody, which is a terrible thing, to be called something and then that be the thing, and if you are that thing, that's what people use to insult somebody, and and it's such a negative thought, stereotypes and just meanings behind it, that it truly can invoke some extreme reactions from certain individuals. And I gotta get myself kind of back in, because I'll trail off. I should have called this Q Yaps like I was planning to, but I just said, am I wrong? Because I did have a lot of questions. So for me, I really think that there is an issue there. I personally, this is the am I wrong part. I really feel like there's an issue with our community. I feel like there's an issue with a lot of people using that as a hateful thing to say to somebody, to bruise somebody's ego, to just disrespect people. I feel like that shouldn't be a go-to or such a negative thing behind it, because that's not fair. Nobody wants to be treated like that. Nobody, no matter what race, you don't want who you are treated as if it's a negative, and that you being here is a negative, that somebody else saying that they look like you is a negative, because then that's hurtful. But I hate that it's gotten to this point. No, not gotten. It's been at this point that it's such a negative thing, and just kind of growing up, it's kind of like that. I feel like growing up, as I can only speak from my experience because I've never been any other race, but as a black man, like, it's masculinity is a very, very big part of who we are, and there's a lack of male role models. So how you find it is through either grown-ups who hopefully know what it is, like some actual OGs who can teach you something, or it's just other kids who got older. I don't even call them adults. They're kids who got older, and they kept their same mindset of what being strong is, being a man is. Whether that be rough and tough, be ready to fight anybody who says something that disrespects you, whether it be, if depending on the disrespect, you gotta get rid of them and, ice them. It's not taking no for an answer. It's this, and that. It's you being thuggish and rough, and you gotta get all the women, you gotta have all the money, you gotta have all the nice stuff and spend your money on this and do this and have that. And I feel like there's been no guidance other than anything that challenges it, because you don't have a firm say so on what masculinity is. Then it just kind of causes a huge reaction to it, you know what I mean? And plus, there's a lot of factors that go into it as I'm kind of digging deep. Like I said, and it's also like, as our masculinity is tested on, how many women that we can get, what we own, what we can provide, things like that. It definitely hurts on the dating side. You know what I mean? You get called that. If they say you look like that, it's definitely a negative. If that one's going somewhere, hold on. When it comes to doing that, there is a not just negative, but just a lifestyle. You know what I mean? You don't want people calling out. You don't want that on your name if you are a straight male. Because it comes with so much of a negative stigma that it's understand why people will fight about it. You know what I mean? To be the ultimate insult, to be willing to put your hands on somebody else because they call you that. And because as I'm thinking about it, because I'm just like, it's treated so badly, like it follows you around. It affects everything, even though it shouldn't. It affects everything. So if you try to talk to women and there's rumors around that you might be gay or bisexual, there's the stigma that you might have, and I don't know if you can say some of these words, but the thing that doesn't go away that everybody's scared of starts with a H, ends with a V. That you have some other kinds of diseases, that you might be dirty, that you're gonna cheat on them with other guys, and it's a lot. So I could see that. And then once people start talking, depending on what kind of community they're in, your reputation is probably gonna be ruined. That's why when you see these famous people, especially famous black men, and they get caught with or talking to or allegedly dealing with somebody who might be trans or might be gay, it's a big deal. It's a huge deal. People may stop actually listening to you. People may start rocking with you. People may insult you. Like it's such a crazy thing. That's why I'm just like, there's so many rabbit holes you can go down, because you can go on the women aspect, you can go on the money aspect, you can go on the relationships with other people, you can go on just like lifestyle. Like there's so many things that this actually reaches out and touches, that like the more I talk about it, the more it's like I'm connecting the dots. Because you can put it, being called gay in our community can affect your money, because people may not want to work with you. It can affect your relationships, because girls may not want to date you. It can predict how family treats you, because like I said, in our community, Christianity is a big thing, and there's a lot of old style beliefs. Even though I had to criticize this, because we are so ready to jump on somebody else for being different from us, but then everybody hates to be jumped on because we are different from other people. That's one thing that really irks me about my community. I always hated that. The fact that you can treat somebody so differently based on something they can't change, but then have the audacity to cry and complain when people do the same thing to you. But then so be full-hearted. But that's a lot of things with just humans in general. And it's just crazy. Like, am I wrong for thinking how I think that with such, I know this is probably gonna be like a super vanilla take, because most everybody knows people see it as a negative. Because why else would you use it as an insult? Why else would it affect so much stuff? Why else would people be scared? Literally, as it can literally be used as a threat. You know what I mean? Like if I'm pretty sure somebody could be like, yeah, if you say this, if you do this, I'm gonna come out like someone who may be attracted to men is gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna come out and say that you texted me. I'm gonna make up some text. I'm gonna spread some rumors, and I'm gonna ruin your reputation. Can you believe that? Can you believe? And the fact that it can be used as a weapon within the community is another crazy part. And I know, and I hate that we don't like stuff, but we play into it, and we keep the cycle going by it. Cause like, I just mean that with just everything. Cause I hate that, just like some examples, I hate when I hear about, and these are uneducated takes, because I do have to educate myself, but that's just my uneducated take. Things like the patriarchy. Hate hearing about that, because even though women say they don't like it, a lot of women still abide by how it's run. They want the benefits, but don't want to be under it. And when I say that, I'm just doing a short explanation. Why do you want a man to be a provider when that's patriarchal? Why do you want a man to be a protector when that's patriarchal? Why do you want a man to be a leader when that's patriarchal? That doesn't make sense. You can't not have these things and then question and then insult a man if he doesn't do them, but then have a problem with the patriarchy. You cannot. Let's see. Do I have any other examples? I'm pretty sure before I go too deep into stuff. You can't be mad at different. Well, you can. You can't be mad at these different political sides when everybody shields. I don't know if I'm using that word right. Let me not say that. When everybody has a bias for their particular side. I hate when people do that. When people will sit here and get mad about what one person does, but then if their person that they actually like does it, they have no issue with it. Just like, okay, like with these music artists, like there are certain artists who will ask you to boost their stream. They will beg their fans to go ahead and start streaming their song, go to sleep with the song playing, get their album to #1 whatsoever. Fans will be perfectly fine with that. But if it's somebody that they don't like maybe that their favorite singer, rapper, whoever entertainer is beefing with, and they ask that, they're like, oh, look at him, he's begging for screens, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's begging this and that. It's just like, bro, your same person just did it and you didn't chastise them. That should be an issue. Like, but I really do feel like a lot of people just don't even realize that they're living in such a hypocritical way that it's kind of scary. You know what I mean? Because it makes you wonder how many people actually think. But back to the topic. I want to say, am I wrong for thinking that it shouldn't be used as an insult? It shouldn't be used as an insult. It definitely shouldn't be a first insult. I feel like there's a lot of people who have a lot of hidden, should I even say dislike? Because what would I say if another person of another race used my race as an insult? Should I say you actually have a dislike for me? Like, and I won't say me as an individual, but for my race, I would imagine that because you're using it in a negative way. Then secondly, so if I use your sexuality as an insult, does it mean I have an issue with your sexuality? I would assume so, right? There has to be some kind of correlation, I would imagine. Because I couldn't imagine calling somebody and being like, man, you're gay, you know, and like that's the insult. Like that's it, just to hurt you. And like, or looking at somebody and be like, well, that's why you're black. You know what I mean? Like you see how like the two things, it's like you're using it in such a negative way that you must feel some type of way about what you're saying, even though you're saying that you're friendly with them, you're saying that you're cool with them. That it must not be that. There must be some things, I imagine, in your mind that you don't agree with and that you don't like, but you're still entertaining and being around whatever you're being around. But yeah, that's my topic of the day. It's just like, why do you feel like it's used as an insult? What all do you feel like it's connected to? Do you feel like it should be a thing like that people say, or I don't know, just kind of throwing some stuff out there, back again, making videos, trying to get used to this YouTube thing. You're gonna see how I'm kind of improving little by little, but it's still just gonna be me. I'm kind of doing my Charlie where I just kind of talk, no real big special effects, just, you know, it's just me. But hopefully I enjoyed the video. It is what it is. Y'all have a great day.